I'd like to yield myself as much time as I may consume.
So ordered.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a different day here on the House floor for a debate over a bill with House administration jurisdiction. I once again agree with the majority that this is a good piece of legislation. Albeit, I was a little concerned when my colleague just mentioned that officials in California, Illinois support this bill. I had to take a step back and realize, well, maybe I'll talk to my team about who those officials are before I offer my wholehearted support. But in all seriousness, Mr. Speaker, as part of the Help America Vote Act created in 2002, Congress authorized funding for the protection and advocacy for voting access program to help ensure every eligible American, regardless of their abilities, can participate in the election process and cast their ballot privately and independently. Funds for the PAVA program are currently allocated to only 55 of 57 legally established protection and advocacy systems across the country. The bill today makes an important correction to ensure that both the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands and the American Indian Consortium are included as eligible recipients for the first time. This bill, as mentioned by my colleague, sponsored by my good friend Senator Roy Blunt, passed the Senate by unanimous consent. And Republicans on the Committee on House Administration are supportive of these changes and have no issues with the bill. But to be honest, I am somewhat disappointed that my colleagues in the majority on House Administration have chosen not to pass this bill under suspension. For months, our staffs have been working together to pair the PAVA Program Inclusion Act with H.R. 8517, the Confirmation of Congressional Observer Access Act, a non-controversial bill brought forward by Election Subcommittee Ranking Member Brian Stile. Both bills make bipartisan non-controversial amendments to HAVA. Mr. Stiles' bill doesn't change federal law or practice, but simply provides a citation of convenience for existing law that gives the House authority to deploy official observers to watch the conduct of congressional elections in states and territories. Both Democrats and Republicans have long deployed House staff as election observers to monitor congressional elections. Sometimes our observers have had access difficulties, including in a widely publicized event in Maricopa County, Arizona 2 years ago. So we listened when many state and local election officials asked Congress to speak more clearly about this constitutional exercise so they can more readily provide access for our observers, which is why our committee staffs had agreed in principle to move both bills together. That was until just a few weeks ago when the Democrat staff said they had issues. But when my staff reached out, they couldn't say what those issues were and met my staff with silence. We gave Democrats another opportunity to bring these bills up together during Rules Committee earlier this week when Mr. Stile offered an amendment to include his election observer bill, but it was rejected along party lines. So now we're here on the House floor talking about a bill that should have passed under suspension alongside Congressman Stiles' common sense bill to ensure integrity and faith in our elections. While I support the bill before us today, I urge my Democrat colleagues in the majority to quickly bring forward the Confirmation of Congressional Observer Access Act for a vote as well. I was encouraged by comments earlier this week at Rules Committee by my good friend, the chair of the Election Subcommittee, Congressman G.K. Butterfield, about Mr. Stiles' good piece of legislation, and continue to hope we can work together on a bipartisan basis to make it law. And thank you, Mr. Speaker, I reserve.